Okay, just a couple hours until the NCAA Volleyball tournament kicks off, and so I'm here to give you a few reminders and things to watch before you start watching or listening, whatever you're doing for this tournament. In order to watch, you do have to have ESPN Plus for this first and second round. All the matches this weekend are only live on ESPN Plus. The Husker game will be on the Husker Radio Network, so you can listen to it on that. But here's a few of the matches that I'm excited for in this first round. And if you're on that ESPN Plus app, I would recommend getting to these matches. Nebraska doesn't play until tomorrow. So it's Thursday today. Matches do start this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are. But Nebraska doesn't play until tomorrow. They play in the Devaney Center at 7 p.m. Central Time. There is a match before them. The other match is University of Miami out of Florida, who is the 8th seed, will play South Dakota State. And that's at 4:30. So if that match runs long, then the Nebraska game will start later too. Also around in that bottom right corner, the Texas A&M and Colorado State match should be excellent. I've had a chance to watch Colorado State live a couple times this season, and they're a really well-balanced team as far as ball control and keeping the ball alive, but their key hitter is a right side player, just like Merritt Beeson is. And Texas A&M has a similar thing. They have their key hitter is their right side player. And so it's really two right side players going head to head against each other, and that puts the left side blockers in a really key position to be blockers. And I think Texas A&M has the edge in this one. I don't think Colorado State's left side blockers are as strong as Texas A&M's, and I think that's going to be a difference in this match. So I think Texas A&M will win that one. Other first round matches that I like, TCU and Hawaii is a really good match. That's in the top left. Hawaii is one of those top attendance teams. They get lots of fans to all their games. Not as many as Nebraska, but worth mentioning. And TCU has a phenomenal outside hitter named Melanie Para. She's really a difference maker. And so I think this will be a great match. Hawaii's a little more balanced, more players hit the ball. But that should be a good match. I think TCU has the edge there, but don't let me fill out your bracket for you. You pick your winner too. The other one I like, it's a little self-serving here in the bottom left, Purdue and Western Michigan. I'm from the area where Western Michigan is, and so I'm cheering for the Broncos. I think Purdue will win this. They're a very athletic team. Their two outside hitters have impressed us all season long. I think Purdue will win this match, but I sure hope the Broncos have a great match, and I'm cheering for them in my heart, but I picked Purdue in my bracket. The second round matches that I like, and this will, talk about who I think is going to win those matches too. Stay in that bottom left. That second round match, Florida and Kansas should both win their first round match. Florida is a real hot and cold team. They've lost matches they shouldn't. Their star left side, or she hits on the right side, she's left-handed, she's phenomenal every match, but it just depends on how much of the rest of the Florida team supports her if they're able to win. So she's the player that sort of replaced Merritt Beeson on that Florida team. So she's excellent, but does the rest of the Florida team support her enough to win that match against Kansas, who's a great ball control team? They pass very well. They keep the ball in a good place for their team. Like every touch on the ball makes the ball better. That's a good ball control team. And so I think this is a good matchup of two different types of teams. And it's a matter of, can this whole Kansas ball control team beat this one phenomenal right side player for Florida? Back up to that left side, TCU and Oregon could meet in the second round. Again, I think TCU has the edge against Hawaii. Oregon should beat High Point, and then that matches those two teams up in the second round. I don't know who will win that one. I'm sure I picked somebody, but I don't know who it is. I think this will be a great match. And just below that, Kentucky and Minnesota could meet in that second round. And you've watched Minnesota through the Big Ten season. Perhaps you've seen Kentucky even after they played against Nebraska early in the season. This is a great match as well. I think there'll be, I hope the Minnesota team, the better Minnesota team shows up. They kind of highs and lows and inconsistencies, and that's led to some losses to Minnesota this year. But if the good Minnesota team shows up with all their firepower, all their shots, all their defense, I think they can win this match. I think Minnesota could do an upset there. Another second round match that I like is a Texas and USC. That's in the top right. Allie Batenhorst was just named first team All Big Ten for USC. And they do have one injury to one of their normal starters. So USC might be needing, extra play from other players that could make this a loss for them. Texas comes in the tournament and tends to play well. So either way, this is a good match. I also like in the bottom right, a Wisconsin and Georgia Tech match. Georgia Tech is really fiery. They've got some great players, and I'd like to see them challenge Wisconsin. You probably do too. And then, of course, I'll highlight down for Nebraska. They'll play their opening round match against Florida A&M. Interestingly, these teams have only played once in the history of both programs, and Florida A&M won. So there's a dozen teams that have a winning record overall against Nebraska, and Florida A&M is one of them. With just the one meeting, though, this win that Nebraska will likely have over them will even the series, and they'll no longer have that winning record against Nebraska. I do expect Nebraska to win fairly simply against Florida and A&M. And then the other match, like I said, is South Dakota State and Miami. And I think this will be a really competitive match, but I do expect Miami to win that. Miami has had wins this season over Texas pretty early in September. And then they also beat Stanford in 5 sets. So those are 2 impressive wins. But on the other side of things, they have some unimpressive losses. And so what I think we get with Miami is a team that has huge highs, but there are also some mediums or lows. And so are they able to consistently hold the high play, reduce errors? That's both on the service line and then from the attack position. That's usually where we see this fluctuation in teams and where they aren't able to keep the high play. They're just making the errors, sometimes in the bad moments, but just sometimes there's too many errors to string together the wins. So I expect that Nebraska meets Miami in the second round, and I think that's going to be a competitive match. And here's where the keys for Nebraska should come in. And I'm going to pull out my whiteboard because I want to talk about something specifically. In the Penn State match, one of the key things that the coaching staff learned was that rotation 1 was a challenge for us in a way that it has not challenged us in previous matches this season. We've had times where we lost some points on rotation 1, but it was a huge problem against Penn State, specifically in the first set. And so let's talk about why that is. So here is rotation 1 for Nebraska. See my volleyball court? Okay, so in rotation 1, Bergen Riley is the server, okay? But once we lose the serve, we're going to lose the serve. Sorry, that's a bad news story. But okay, so we lose the serve, and now our opposing team is serving. So we need to go into serve receive. Now what happens is Coach Cook puts a lineup card in before every single set, right? And he tells the referee, here's my 6 people, and this is where they're starting. Those 6 people have to stay in that position every time they rotate around the court. They have subs and everything. I'm not going to get into that right now. But so when Bergen Riley is serving, her opposite person is Merritt Beeson, right? So as the rotations go, when Riley's front row, Beeson's back row. All that, when Landfair's front row, Murray's back row. So what happens when Riley is right back, Merritt Beeson is left front in this relative position. And so Beeson hits out on this left side pin, and she can do that. She can do that effectively, but she doesn't do it as well as either Taylor Landfair or Harper Murray. We know Merritt Beeson's best position to hit is on this right side position, but here's how the rule in volleyball works. Every player, when the ball is served, must be in their position relative to the people around them. So here's what that means. Rebecca Alec is the middle front right now. She must be to the right of Merritt Beeson, to the left of Taylor Landfair, and in front of Lexi Rodriguez. She is in her position relative to the people around her. So here's why you find Nebraska stacking or pushing players. If we want Beeson to hit on this right side, we can stack all these players, right? We can send Beeson over here. So we send Beeson and she passes right there. Landfair is going to come back and she'll pass kind of right in front of where Bergen Riley stands. And then Alec can just come and stand. She has to be relative to Merritt Beeson. They're all still in position, right? All relative to each other, they're still in position. So they end up stacking players to get them to where they want to hit. Or what they did in the first set to begin with against Penn State is Merritt Beeson came over here and she just stayed and hit left side. That's what they most frequently do. Landfair stayed, she passed here, but then she hit right side, and then Alec has the middle to work with. So this week in practice, Nebraska is working on rotation 1. They are working on getting this to be multiple options so that Beeson can hit on the left side, Beeson can hit on the right side, and Landfair can hit on the right side and hit on the left side. More ways to get out of rotation 1. If Nebraska learned anything from that Penn State match, it was how to get out of rotation 1, because it was probably the largest reason that we lost to that team. Okay, so I don't think we'll see that against any variations in rotation 1 against Florida A&M, but I would watch that after Riley serves, watch how they come back to serve receive, see how they shift the players around. I think the reason that the coaching staff likes to leave Beeson here and Landfair there, that's their first choice, is because when you pull Landfair back to pass here, you can hide her. She's not our best passer. Lexi Rodriguez is our best passer. So if we leave her in the middle of the court, she can pass the most balls. The minute you start pulling Landfair over here to pass, now Rodriguez has to pass over here. Murray's in the middle and Landfair's over here. So we like Lexi Rodriguez passing in the middle of the court. She's got Murray next to her. She's got Landfair next to her. It allows Rodriguez to pass the most balls. So I would watch that and see how Nebraska adjusts. Probably against Miami, we'll see some variations in rotation 1 and see how they're going to try to get out of it. So don't forget, you can fill out a bracket with Coronation. Go to ESPN and there's a volleyball bracket right online there. Our public group is called Coronation, and so fill out your bracket and you can earn bragging rights for a year if yours is the best bracket in the group. Mine's already in there. You can't see anybody's picks until the tournament starts later today. So thanks for watching. Go volleyball.